Many thanks for joining us. This is Citizen Live at 1. I'm Lillian Muli Kanene, and Kenya's taxpayers have been feted today by the Kenya Revenue Authority. Safaricom has, for the 7th consecutive time, emerged the highest taxpayer at this year's Taxpayers Day. President Uhuru Kenyatta was the chief guest at the event. Let's listen in on what the president had to say.
Mine is to state that we will do everything that we can to ensure that those taxes are utilized prudently and efficiently. And as you pay your taxes, I also want to remind you, but also keep an eye on how we spend that money. It is your responsibility to keep an eye. If you see money being misused, if you see people in my government following the route of corruption, please don't hesitate. Let it be known. Let it be known. Report to the appropriate authorities. If you feel you have no faith and confidence in those authorities, put it out in the media. These days there's so many anonymous things going out there, so it doesn't really make a difference. The important thing is that we must put an end to the misuse of public funds in this country. It has to come to an end. It is the only sure way of ensuring that we are able to achieve our developmental objectives. And we want to partner together in that. We want to grow this economy together. We want you to be true partners. And I believe if we work as true partners, we can eliminate poverty in this country. We can create jobs in this country. We can become globally competitive, and I think by so doing, every single Kenyan benefits, from those that lead industries to those that work for industries. And I think that is the objective that we have. God bless you, and once again I thank you for all your great efforts, and I look forward, God willing, to seeing you again next year. Thank you very much.
And South African athlete Oscar Pistorius has been sentenced to 5 years in prison for killing his girlfriend Riva Steenkamp. Pistorius will also serve a 3-year non-custodial sentence for firearms charge, according to the ruling issued by Judge Thokozile Masipa in a court in Pretoria, South Africa.
After a 7-month-long wait, finally South African athlete Oscar Pistorius knew his fate today. In a ruling delivered by Judge Thokozile Masipa, the Paralympian was sentenced to 5 years in jail for the culpable homicide of his girlfriend Riva Steenkamp, but cleared of murder. The judge also gave Pistorius a 3-year suspended sentence for a firearms charge, meaning he will serve an uncustodial sentence where he will undertake community service. The prosecution had called for a minimum 10-year sentence, while the defense had argued for community service and house arrest. The judge, who had begun summarizing the evidence brought before the trial, described the evidence of defense witness and social worker Annette Vaga as disappointing. Pistorius, an amputee sprinter who became the first athlete to compete in the Olympic and Paralympic Games, killed Steenkamp on Valentine's Day last year. Steenkamp family is yet to comment on the judgment. This even as both the prosecution and the defense have the right to appeal against the sentence. Gatete Njoroge, Citizen Live at 1.
The 42 police officers killed in Seguta Valley in Baragoi 2 years ago have been honored alongside others who lost their lives while fighting banditry in Samburu County. Martin Munene tells us more.
And color, song and dance. Samburu County joined the rest of the nation in marking Mashujaa Day, a day set aside to celebrate the nation's heroes and heroines. It is in this ceremony that 42 officers killed in 2012 in Baragoi were honored in death. Families of the slain officers can now find some comfort only days to their second annual memorial.
Leo tunasherehekea maisha ya viongozi wa serikali, ya watumishi wa serikali ambao wametoa maisha yao yenye imetufanya leo tusherehekee mambo ya amani.
The governor also paid tribute to other Kenyans felled in the line of duty while battling cattle rustling in the area.
Unajua 1996 tulipoteza DC Nyandoro akifuatana na mambo ya wizi, akaangushwa na ndege hapa chini. Si mnajua tulipoteza OSPD ambaye alikuwa anaitwa Abdullahi upande ya Amaya ambaye alipigwa risasi akafariki akifuata ng'ombe. Sio tunajua hivi karibuni mwezi wa 11 mwezi huu kutakuwa na commemoration, tulipoteza askari 40 hapa chini.
The officers were killed in November 2012 as they pursued suspected cattle raiders in Siguta Valley in one of the deadliest attacks on police officers in the country's history. Only 11 days ago, a court sentenced 2 herdsmen to death over the killing of the officers. Samburu Deputy Governor Joseph Ramarkat called for the arrest and prosecution of those who are still engaged in the cattle rustling.
Tumetosheka na mambo ya kusema rudisha mifugo, kundi imeibiwa rudisha, mbili imeibiwa rudisha, na hakuna mwizi ambaye anashikwa. Tafadhali shika na uweke hawa ndani.
Martin Munene, Citizen Live at 1.
Wajir County has for many decades hit the headlines during periods of drought because of the suffering and hardships locals have to endure following failed rains. But silently and slowly, the situation there is improving following concerted efforts by the county government and the local farmers. Wajir County Executive in charge of Agriculture, Abdirahim Ibrahim, says food production in the county has shot up by 60% following the implementation of the new agricultural development program.
There is something to celebrate in Wajir County. These traditional dancers joined locals in marking a milestone there. Wajir is undergoing a green revolution as farmers there engage in improved agricultural production. These pawpaw trees have the fruits of the locals' hard work hanging heavy with promise, fruits that will help improve the diet of the locals. The county government has employed more agricultural extension officers, provided them with relevant equipment, assisted farmers with kits such as this one's on display, and trained farmers on how to increase food production. The results have seen food production increase significantly.
The impact of our extension officers in food production is now very clear. We're able to produce vegetables, we're able to produce cereals, we're able to sustain our market. And according to the reports I have from my extension officers, food production has increased by 60%.
At the Wajir Rehe grounds, local farmers displayed crops harvested from their farms, fresh green vegetables, fruits, even yogurt made in Wajir by the Al-Haq Alimao women group, eggs and much more. The deputy governor hailed women in the county for their hard work and also had a warning for men who fail to provide for their families.
Na wanaume ambao kazi yao ni kukaa tu kwa dashi na kukula miraa na hawataki kusaidia wamama, tunawapatia warning. Tafadhalini sana msaidia wamama, tuhakikishe ya kwamba Wajir County ikuwe food secure.
He pledged that the county government would offer more support for farmers in the county. Wajir residents are now looking forward to lower food prices following the increased food production by farmers in the county. Abdi Osman, Citizen Live at 1.
Great news from Wajir, and the Senate reconvened today with Makueni impeachment top on its agenda. The House immediately named a team that will probe the accusations leveled against Makueni Governor Kivutha Kibwana. Kendago Obadia now joins us from the Senate with the details.
Well, good afternoon to you, Lillian. What is happening today is that, of course, the Senate is resuming from a short recess. That was not actually a recess, it was an adjournment where the House adjourned to deal with the issues of Makueni County and Isiolo counties. The two counties have been conflicting within itself. We had the Makueni governor in loggerheads with the MCAs, and that county has since stalled. Operations there have been minimal, or rather none. The same thing is happening in Isiolo County, where the county has not been working. I mean, the county assembly has been on hold for the last 4 months. The county assembly has not had any sittings since the last 4 months because of what has been happening there. And now the Senate had adjourned to deal with these issues. And again, but then the issue of Makueni County went a little bit overboard, where the county assembly went ahead to impeach the governor, and that message has been sent to the Senate. Senate Speaker Kwe Thuro received the impeachment proposal from the county assembly 1 week ago, and that now has set the stage for the process to begin. Remember, an impeachment process is always anchored in law and has timelines. And today, as the House resumes sittings, we expect that the first agenda of the day would be forming an 11-member committee that will now investigate the proposal to impeach the governor, whether it has any merits at all. And that will now involve the House sitting and debating on certain names that will be fronted to be in that committee, which will investigate, write a report, and then bring the report, which will either confirm the impeachment or reject that impeachment. We also have information that certain quarters are pushing and fronting James Orengo, the Senator for Siaya, to chair this committee. That will be confirmed later on this afternoon when the Senate Leader of Majority, Ndiki Kithure, will be bringing the names. We're being told that consultations are at a high note right now between the Leader of Majority and the Leader of Minority in the Senate to ensure that they arrive at names that are agreeable between all the parties, that is the Code side and the Jubilee side. They're also proposing that Migori Senator Wilfred Machage becomes the deputy of that particular committee. And so we will just be looking at what kind of committee will come up. Then we'll have 10 days for that committee to be able to do their report, summon the governor if they so wish, and other the MCAs and maybe any other person who would be involved to bring the issue of Makueni County to an end. Back to you, Lillian Muli.
All right, thank you for that, Kendago Obadia. And Kendago Obadia is staying with that developing story. Of course, catch our subsequent bulletins for the latest updates on that situation. And the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Exams kicked off today morning. 400,000 students are sitting the exams, beginning with the English papers. In Nakuru, a morning drizzle delayed the exam, which began at 8:30 a.m., 30 minutes later than scheduled.
With cheating cases on the rise, examiners spent some time frisking students before they could enter the exam room. Among those sitting exams today is a 19-year-old girl from Nyamira County who gave birth to triplets a few weeks ago. In Nakuru County, the early morning rain forced schools like the Nakuru Boys High School to start the examinations at 8:30 a.m., half an hour later than scheduled.
I actually started the exam last week with the practical exams, actually on Tuesday last week. We did our rehearsals last week on Monday, and all has been well. We've not had any problem.
The Examination Council has warned candidates against cheating. The NEC Act 2012 spelling out harsh punishment, including cancellation of results. In Embu County, the exam commenced with no hitches reported. 8,200 students are sitting the exam in 176 centers in the county. 4,200 of those are male, with the other 3,800 female. Examiners in Nairobi County are also on the lookout for cheating cases. Esther Kahumbi, Citizen Live at 1.
Education officials in Mbeere are now calling on parents of 5 girls who dropped out of Kiambere Primary School due to pregnancy to present the girls for the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education, KCPE, which is set to start on the 3rd of November. The girls who dropped out of school in July did not even sit for the mock examinations.
Some of them, became pregnant along the way, and then they left around July. But we expect them to come back and do the exam because they already have paid for the same.
Leaders from Garissa County have asked the government to reopen the Garissa Passport Office. Our reporter Tom Wanjala brings us more on that.
Speaking during the Mashujaa Day celebrations, Garissa County Governor Nathif Jama joined other leaders in urging the government to reopen the passport offices, saying the closure had inconvenienced the locals.
It's true that the office tangu iletwe hapa imewasaidia watu wengi sana, especially wazee wetu kutoka mashinani, those who come here for Hajj and for other requirements.
The Director General of Immigration, Major General Retired Gordon Kihalangwa, ordered the closure of passport offices in Garissa, Embu, Nakuru and Eldoret last month over security reasons.
Kama ni mambo ya kuvet watu upande wa security, I believe the national government has the apparatus and the capacity to vet people properly so that we deal away with those who are spoiling the good reputation.
At the same time, security has been beefed up in all schools in Garissa County as Form 4 students start their KCSE examinations today. Garissa County Commissioner Rashid Hator has promised to put enough officers on watch to offer protection to candidates, invigilators and institutions. Tom Wanjala for Citizen Live at 1.
And as earlier mentioned, Kenya's top taxpayers were fitted today by the Kenya Revenue Authority. Safaricom has for the 7th consecutive time emerged the highest taxpayer at this year's Taxpayers Day. Bella Ganga is at the Kenyatta International Convention Center where the event was held. Of course, it was presided over by President Uhuru Kenyatta, who was the chief guest. Bella is joining us live now from there. Bella, we know that Safaricom has emerged the highest taxpayer at this year's Taxpayers Day. Do we know who is ranking lowest?
Indeed, Lillian, Safaricom has once again been announced the top taxpayer for the 7th year running, and this comes as the two top taxpayers who were seen last year have actually dropped out, and that's the British American Tobacco and the Kenya Ports Authority. However, the financial services sector has been represented by 4 banks in the top 10. That's the Barclays Bank, the Kenya Commercial Bank, Equity Bank and the Kenya Commercial Bank, who are also among the top taxpayers. And we've seen in the President's speech, President Uhuru Kenyatta was officiating this event, and in his speech he reiterated the government's commitment to creating an enabling environment, especially for businesses in the country, and that's through the continued prioritization of infrastructure in the country, all part of the government's efforts of making Kenya a globally competitive destination and an easy place for doing business. At the same time, he said that the President said that the government will maintain a stable, wider economic environment, and that's through stabilizing inflation and at the same time keeping the interest rates low. One of the things still the President reiterated the commitment in is infrastructure, the construction of infrastructure, and he announced that the government is in the process of beginning the construction of 10,000 kilometers of road, with the first 2,000 kilometers to be constructed early next year. Another important thing to note from this event was the speech by the Cabinet Secretary of the National Treasury, who announced that the Treasury will actually ensure that the tax refunds that the Kenya Revenue Authority actually owes taxpayers, the first tranche of the 10 billion shillings will be paid by January 2015. Now this is big news, especially for businessmen or the business community, most of who are owed 30 billion shillings in tax refunds by the Kenya Revenue Authority. And still on the Kenya Revenue Authority, we had the Commissioner General announce that the Kenya Revenue Authority will be launching a mobile platform, which is part of its efforts to digitize revenue collection, even as it looks to meet its target of raising 1.12 trillion shillings for the 2014-2015 financial year. You will notice that the Kenya Revenue Authority recently surpassed its target for the 2013-2014 revenue collection, where it collected more than 900 billion shillings. Now the revenue collection has also been undergoing some reforms. These as part of efforts to ensure that more Kenyans are paying taxes and voluntarily, which is because actually paying taxes is actually a legal and moral obligation, and this is part of, and the more that Kenyans pay taxes, the more they enable the government to meet its financial obligations and therefore ensure economic growth in the country. We've seen the Kenya Revenue Authority recently embark on digitizing its platform, and that's through the iTax, which is the digital online tax filing and payment system. This is mainly one of the efforts that Kenya Revenue Authority is looking at to increase its revenue collection and to seal all the tax loopholes or tax leakages. At the same time, the Kenya Revenue Authority is cleaning up house. It recently put its 67 managers on performance contracts, and this is a measure that will be done for all its employees. This is in an effort to weed out all people who, all Kenya Revenue employees who have been cashing in on opportunities basically to eat from corruption and such kind of vices. So at the same time, we had the Kenya Revenue Authority Commissioner General encourage Kenyans to keep vigilant and to watch all corruption practices, especially within the Kenya Revenue Authority, since the Kenya Revenue Authority will be working on an online platform where Kenyans will be able to directly report corrupt practices by Kenya Revenue employees. So that's basically what has been happening today, Lillian.
Bella Ganga, and of course Bella will have all the details on that later on for you in subsequent bulletins. Let's take a break now. Citizen Weekend continues shortly. Don't go away.